Okay, so good afternoon, good morning for some. Welcome to Delorean. Isn't easy to fly a drone in the middle of a city, so it doesn't look like very challenging. But what about if we want to integrate this nice air taxi into a city? Things gets more complicated. Reminds from the name Delorean from one very famous film, looking at the future. So this is what we are trying to do, looking at the future, and we have organized this session. It's an R&D project, research and development project, to try to evaluate what are the main challenges when we want to integrate the future taxis and for drones with cargo passengers delivering cargo into the cities. And this is a project partially funded by the European Space Agency, USPA now, so it's a new Commission space agency recently created. And we are here together with Airbus, probably you know, one of the main manufacturers of aircrafts in the world, Correos, which is our national post agency in Spain. And we are Build Labs, based in Barcelona, a technical company trying to lead the introduction of satellite navigation into aviation. So what we will hear today is the first results we have from this first test in a place called Benidorm. So you will learn a little bit how Airbus is trying to provide what we do call UTM services and how Correos are seeing in the future this technology to provide cargo transfer. But I will rather quick introduce one of the concepts you'll see, which is called EGNSS, which is satellite navigation. EGNSS is European Global Navigation Satellite Systems. Probably you know about GPS and all the satellite navigation systems. In Europe, we have created first an augmentation service called EGNOS that we are trying to evaluate for these operations. And now we are facing the deployment of a full constellation called Galileo. So the term EGNSS that you will see during the presentation tries to club these two terms, EGNOS and Galileo. And this is basically what we have as objectives in Delorean. So we wanted to see, together with this group of companies and people, what these new services could provide for integrating these operations in a safe and secure manner into an urban environment. So I think that's all on my side. So what I would like to do is to introduce rather quickly who is sitting with me today. So I have Jorge Chornique from Airbus, trying to contribute to the development of a strategy on UTM, what we do call urban space traffic management. So how the airspace where these operations will be taken and where these new drones will operate. We have also Carmen Hernandez, who is coming from Correos, who is supporting the development of projects, is the head of UAVs projects in Correos. And then I have with me my colleague, Santi Vilardaga, who is the project coordinator. So I think I leave the floor to Jorge to start with an overview on the task that Airbus is doing in this project and to present a little bit how are they progressing in this area of UTM. Jorge, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Santi. So, to start, I think it's important to understand why we are talking today of urban air mobility, and this is a concept that wasn't thought in the past. And this is because today we really are at the confluence of three main pillars of development. On one side, we have the emergency of new technologies, so distributed electrical propulsion for aircraft that can fly safe in cities. On the other hand, we have a change in people needs, so people that is living and working in cities have new needs in terms of mobility, also in a more sustainable, eco-friendly way that we need to provide. And last but not least, the emergence of new business models that can adopt this new kind of transportation on demand. And if we put all these three pillars together, is when we can start thinking today about urban air mobility, which is really focused into bringing new solutions to support the transportation needs in cities, to complement and to ensure that we can move to the future in an eco-friendly and sustainable way. If we think of the mobility needs on the urban ecosystem, we can think of a multitude of them. We can think of emergency services, logistics for small parcels, and for big cargo, we can think of the transport of people from one urban city to another one or within a city. In the Delorean project, we tailor or we focus a bit the problem, and we focus in two main use cases. On one side, the transport of passengers of people in cities, which is the part of the project led by us, by Airbus. And on the other hand, the transport of deliveries of small parcels in cities, which is the part led by my colleague Carmen from Correos. And the basic idea, as Santi said at the beginning, why we are thinking of using these satellite navigation solutions in cities. And if we start thinking into the urban landscape, we see a lot of potential contributions this technology can bring to the transport in cities. So it is not only about positioning of the aircraft or tracking of the vehicles, it's also supporting the navigation in the cities, it's supporting the automation of some procedures like takeoff and landing, and even the full flight in the future, and also the capabilities to optimize the mission or even provide value-added services to the customers of these services. So all these services or solutions can be enabled by terms of the satellite navigation technologies. But this is the positive side. The caveat to this is that we need to face a demanding environment in cities. So in cities we have high buildings, we have a very diverse ecosystem, and this is impacting negatively the reception of these navigation signals. On one side, we have the potential intentional interference we can receive from threats, from other means, but due to the urban environment, we have a very dense radio frequency environment with all the deployment of mobile network operators, of satellite signals, of the different users. And then we have the effects of signal shadowing or even the tunnel effect, which are provided in the cities due to the high buildings and being able to navigate really between them. And this is where Galileo and EGNOS really provide a very good solution to mitigate this impact of interference, of spoofing, of topography, due to the new characteristics of the signals like the E5 outbox, the message authentication service, or the high accuracy service. This is why we think that these solutions are really a good way to focus and to provide solution to this service, and this is why we are experimenting in the Delorean project. To focus more into what we are doing on the transport of people, in the Delorean project we develop a concept of operations focused, as I mentioned before, into the main mission of transporting people in cities. And then the set of partners that collaborated in this concept of operations evaluated all the different missions that we can envision in a city. So from very short distances inside the city to coming intercities, then the city to airport, city to metropolitan area, and a different set of customers that can benefit from these services, from the very private users, businessmen that want to use these services, to the tourists and leisure passengers that want to use these services in their leisure time. And on that one, we decided in the Delorean project to focus at first into the two groups that are marked in yellow. On one side, the business travelers that want to commute from the city center to the airport or to the business areas in the city. And on the other hand, to people that is using this kind of service for leisure to go to tourist sites or attraction centers. In that sense, those are two of the examples we're focusing on Benidorm. On one side, we have a transfer from the airport in Alacant to the center of the Benidorm city, which today by car is around 45 minutes, not considering traffic jams, and by air it can take just 20 minutes, considering the full traject. On the other hand, we have a visit, a leisure city to the national park surrounding Benidorm, which, again, with a car ride could be around 15 minutes, and with an urban mobility flight it can take about 5 minutes. And then the benefit is not only because of time, it's also the saving in energy to do this transportation and the use of new means of power sources like electrification in order to reduce the environmental footprint of these travels, which is also key to it. I think one of the important things of this project is that today is not only the regulation, it's not only the demand, but also regulation has to support the definition of these missions. And if we look into the concept of operations that have been developed by the regulators around the globe, and we can see the CONOPS that the FAA in the United States issued last year for urban mobility, or the concept of operations that the EASA is developing, they think at first of the idea of having corridors where the vehicle can fly safely so we can ensure the safety of operations. And this is where the navigation technology, the satellite technology is key in order to ensure that we can attach to these corridors and we can fly safely in these environments. So if we look into these missions, now in the CONOPS, the next question is, which are the technologies we need in order to enable these missions? And this is where we have the three pillars for the unmanned traffic management, which is the needs in terms of communications, in terms of navigations, and in terms of surveillance. For sure, in the Delorean project, we are focusing more in the middle part on the navigation needs, especially how the Galileo and EGNOS can contribute to the navigation in cities. But we shouldn't underestimate also the needs for communication in cities and the needs for surveillance. And this is where especially 5G can take a relevant role that we are assessing in other different projects, because on one side it could be a very good solution to provide communication capability for these vehicles in cities, and also it can provide surveillance capabilities by using of the different multilateralization technologies it can provide. So the idea, even if DeLorean, we are focusing more on the navigation aspects of this solution, is that really we need to take this holistic view and see how the different technologies integrate all together to provide these solutions. And this was all for the transportation of people. And now I hand over to Carmen.
Yeah. Okay, Jorge, thank you very much. So as you've seen, the term air mobility, urban air mobility, is not just related to passengers, but it's also related to cargo. This is one of the main targets also in aviation. So there is a lot of traffic in cargo. And we had the opportunity also to engage Correos, and Carmen Gonzalez is the head of innovation of the UAS projects. What's the point of view from Correos on this new technology?
No. Okay, first of all, thank you to Santiago and to Jorge for their very interesting contribution. As they have mentioned before, Correos is part of the Delorean consortium, where we are testing GNSS for urban air deliveries. The main objective of Correos in this project is to develop and test a new last-mile logistic model to deliver parcels with drones in the urban environments. It's very important for the Delorean project and also for the future urban air skies that urban air mobility carried out by Airbus in this project and urban air delivery carried by us is integrated and coordinated at all time. Drones are very useful tools for the logistic companies because they allow us to reach places we didn't reach before with our traditional transport means. And also because they allow to reach better to the places we already reach. We are very interested in two types of operations, emergency operations and urgent operations. In emergency deliveries, WAPs are very useful tool to deliver the necessary material to the emergency. They could deliver materials such as, for example, first aid kits, defibrillator, foods, walkies, whatever, when they occur an installation, for example, due to floods, fire, a terrorist attack, whatever. Due to the continuous growth of the parcel world and the customer demand to reduce logistics entry times, urgent deliveries with drones are also very interesting for the operation in urban areas. The main advantages, as Jorge has introduced before, are saving time and money and reducing distance, but also is very important the use of much greener energies. In the future, we could offer our clients a better logistic experience by doing their express deliveries with drone. But it's very important to take into account that these urban environments are difficult to operate in. So we have to have this high accuracy and high precision in order to achieve to our clients in a good way. So that's all from my part.
Thank you very much, Carmen.
Thank you.
So that's it's very nice, no? We decided to develop a concept of operation, so we want to understand how we can operate, what's the type of service we want to offer to people with this. But one of the main purpose of DeLoreans was to demonstrate these people, no? What you can get with the new services. So we built up a urban lab test, and I think this is what Santi will present us. Santi Vilardaga is a research engineer from Build Labs, and he's technically coordinating the the project. So why we did go to, or where we did go to Benidorm, no? Where are these roads appearing?
Yes, exactly. So, oops. So we decided for Benidorm. In Benidorm, there are two main aspects. One is that there are huge or tall skyscrapers, and that's a good test for the different cities that we could have or we could encounter around the world. But also we have a municipality that is very, very keen or very eager into drone, into understanding the technology and seeing what it could bring to their own city, to their own municipality. So we created the urban lab, the urban test lab, where we could fly all these concepts that Carmen and Jorge from Correos and from Airbus, we could test what they wanted to fly. Okay, so we got there. We are now in Benidorm, and we identify an area that, first of all, it's safe to fly, because as Santiago Soleil said in the beginning, you saw a video there that we were flying inside a city, and that's not easy. That's not very normal. Okay, so first of all, we wanted to make sure that things were safe, but second, and that's towards the objective of Delorean, we wanted to make it so that we could validate all these concepts of operations, all these concepts, all these situations that we had in the people's transportation and in the delivery of parcels. See, so inside DeLorean we spotted the place together with the operator or the research operator in this case, which is Fadacatec, a civilian technology center. And we spotted the area where we could fly, and we spotted the different zones in the challenges that they would pose. Challenges towards communications, but also towards GNSS. So in this case, there are two quite open sky zones, and 1, 2, and 3, 4 red zones with which really tall skyscrapers next to it, where you could have a lot of technology hindrance, a lot of multipath, a lot of sky occultation, satellite occultation, etc. So all these challenges, we wanted to create the situation where we could recreate what a real service, what a real commercial service would encounter. So we created different scenarios. We have here some situations: taking off from next to a very tall building, landing in a continuous spiral way in a very, very constrained area, but moving forward, which is the most efficient vertical takeoff and landing that we can find. Also having multiple drones around and seeing on the satellite connection, seeing what could happen with satellite occultation, with multipath, and with antennas, communication antennas around the city. Okay, so having all in mind, we created a network of corridors, a network of routes that would deliver this transport, this service, transport of people or parcels inside this area, and having all these waypoints and all these vertiports, all these corridors around, we defined the different test cases, the different scenarios, and we flew them. So you've seen the video, we flew them, and we are flying with a drone, which in this case for us it was a flying laboratory. It was a flying laboratory with a lot of equipment inside, gathering data, so we could finally see what's the performance of the satellite technology that we're studying around all these cases, around all these situations, around all these areas. So we studied that. I mean, those are just plots to show you that we are doing stuff. But really, we studied this. We are now actually studying. That happened 1 month ago. The flight happened some weeks ago. And we are now gathering all the data and studying the data, seeing what eGNSS technology can bring towards the services that they, Airbus and Correos, they want to deliver. So that's around a little bit the technical aspect of it. I don't know, Santi, if you have other comments or questions.
Oh, well, I have some questions. So now I want to open the floor for some questions. I have already some questions. So we mentioned many times the lab, the test, even the drone lab to collect data. But when are we figuring out that this will arrive in European cities? So where are we today with this urban air mobility? Is this something we are discussing about 10, 15 years from now on, or it's something that is going to come soon? If any of you wants to give a timeline. Jorge, maybe from Airbus, where are you today with the City Airbus, and how are you planning the deployment of this technology in general there?
Well, I think as you can see in the press releases, I think now there are a set of companies developing vehicles to fulfill these missions. I think that today, nevertheless, the pace is set by the regulatory environment, and if we focus especially in Europe, I think the idea is that the concept of operations and the regulations to have these vehicles in the air, at least to start some missions with a pilot on board, so not fully autonomous, won't be happening before 2025, 2024 in different frameworks. So I think this is the period of time we can start to see some pilot operations, and I think really to have a kickoff of these services, to really think of real operations, we will be more closer to the end of this decade. So I think maybe 10 years from now, this could be really a reality in terms of operations.
From Correos, where are you today with the use of drones? Carmen, can you give some?
Yes. Well, we are testing the use of drones for our parcel delivery, but I agree with Jorge that is something it's going to take, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years more to see in our skies the first commercial flights. But yes, I think it's going to be soon. But we have to really use drones for our logistic parcels when we need it. We are not going to use it for every kind of deliveries, of course. So I think there are going to be, for example, the emergency cases are going to be the first cases that we are going to see, and then there are going to be, like, the urgent cases are going to be later in the framework. Yes.
Last question on my side. We've seen that as presented by Jorge, Carmen, and Santi. This is a project mostly focusing on satellite navigation, but we are here in the Mobile World Congress. So how is there any other technology? You already mentioned, no, communications. So it's probably something you could learn from what we are doing that could be extrapolated on mobile communications, satellite communications. You can present rather short if there are other parallel tests related to mobile network or being considered this technology also as in support to these operations.
Okay, so I will take this one. I mean, we at Airbus are doing tests with mobile networks in other places on the world, especially on Singapore. We are doing tests with 5G and with other communication means. I think the challenge today, I will say, is not so much on the technology, but more to ensure that the technology comes at the right cost and with the right level of quality and security. Because here we are talking especially of communication demand, and that will save lives or will have a problem, if not saving lives, and therefore we need to ensure certain levels of safety, criticality, and security. And this is where, for sure, mobile networks could be an opportunity, but we also need to ensure that it comes at the right cost and with the right quality we need, and with the right coverage level, because in the end we need this business to boom not only in large cities, but also in other smaller areas where it will be needed.
And Santi, now we've done this first test. What's next, Delorean? What we could expect from Delorean? What's the plan of the project, and how this will last?
Yes, that's. I was just talking to Father Katek some minutes ago about this. We have a second set of flights. We are now accessing all the data and processing all the data that we had from this first set of flights, but we're now looking at what will be the systems that get interconnected into this city. In this second set of flights, what we want to do is, okay, I'm a passenger, or just a citizen. I want to go to that place. I want to book that, and then I want this drone to bring me from here to here. You've seen that we're flying drones, small drones. We're not flying UAM vehicles in this project. We're only assessing the technology. But in this second set of flights, what we want to do is interconnect all the pieces together and see what a user experience could be on the part of reserving, on the part of getting the service, not getting the person to fly it. However, we do want to fly some parcels with Correos. They also have stuff with their payload. They want to deliver here, or so they also have some technology aspects on the payload side to test. Regarding the timings, we're looking at first, second quarter of next year for this second set of flights. This will also happen after we have gone through an advisory group meeting. We want to present, to disclose our results of this first set of flights, get some ideas or get some feedback, some restrictions, etc., regulations towards our next set of flights, our next second campaign.
Perfect, Santi. So very interesting. So now the idea would also be to share these results with the people developing the regulations. I know now they recently published a urban space regulation, which will start providing the means for doing this type of drone operations in certain areas. And I think that we also have the idea to share these results with them, and that could all contribute together to try to move forward on this new urban air mobility concept. By the way, urban air mobility is not a new concept, because from Airbus and together with Pili, we are already developing helicopter operations that are also happening in an urban environment for emergency, as Carmen presented. But at least these autonomous vehicles, which are rather new, more sustainable, with electric power and capable to do other type of operations with the current helicopters. So I would like now to probably open the floor for any question from the audience. I don't know if anybody wants to raise a question from the audience.
Hello. Thank you very much for this interesting presentation. If I understood well, in Benidorm you have developed an urban air lab. Does it mean that other companies can take advantage of that? They can do any kind of test for free? There are any kind of technical requirements, or can you talk about that?
Well, that's actually a very good question. That is indeed the objective. We have created the Urban Lab in Benidorm together with the municipality, with a lot of support from the municipality, the local police, the operator there, in this case with Father Katek. And indeed, this should go beyond Delorean. We want to make this network of routes and the situation, the location. We want to make that available for further projects, further testing. It's true that we are more focused on GNSS at this moment, eGNSS, but I'm sure that other companies will like to see how the 5G geolocation, for example, happens, or how the communications in 5G for surveillance or for comms that like Jorge was presenting. So I'm sure that there will be people interested on that. I don't know if you want to add something, but that's our opinion in the project.
There's also one issue which is very important, and maybe it's not highlighted in the presentation, but it's also how this new technology will be accepted, no, from the community and social acceptance. So I would like also to take the opportunity that I have Correos and Airbus, and what are their feelings on how this is progressing. I know there is a lot of efforts also to make that this technology is not seen like something aggressive, that is something introduced to demonstrate the benefits, and that is visually and also from the noise perspective not something considered annoying. But are there any particular assessment you are doing in Correos, Carmen, about that?
Yes. Sometimes drones are seen like a bad thing, maybe in logistics, because now postmen give that parcel to the client, and we have two things. One thing is that the client wants to receive the parcel with drone, and the other thing is also for our people to want to coordinate with that drone. It's not that the drone is going to be just the technology. It needs someone to operate it, and needs someone to charge the parcel in the drone. So we see it like a mixed way of transport, with our postmen are going to still there. So we are trying, I think projects like this really help to show people that drones are a new thing, and drones can be really, really help with our logistic.
So that means we need to invite people next time to attend the flights in Benidorm, no?
Yes.
So, well, that's very well. We selected Benidorm, of course, because it's a place where there's huge buildings, but during winter time there's not much populated. You can imagine organize this type of flights. It's quite intensive from the police side, so we need to be sure that we have the adequate safety and secure measures in place. So as Santi mentioned, early next year, we do plan to do this second set of tests, more on the operational perspective. And I think we are getting to the end of this presentation. I would like, maybe now we will pass again the video to resume. You will see again the test we've done in Benidorm. But before going for the video, I would like to thank you very much, the Department of Políticas Digitals that allow us to be here. Also the Mobile World Capital, the work that Monica has done to organize this, and to be potentially presenting the early results from this project. And then invite you to follow the evolution of the project. If you have any question, we will be here around, and you will see that this is a 2 years project. As we mentioned, it's a project with different partners participating. It's partially funded by the new European Union Space Agency called EUSPA. So you will see some presentations now coming, hopefully presentially. This is the first one, so we are very glad to be here. And that's all on my side. So thank you very much for listening. And now we will see the first test results we did in Benidorm again from the video we prepared all together. And thank you very much, Carmen, Jorge, and Santi for the excellent presentations.